everyone, I'm Kat Kahn from Bay County Public Library, and I'm here to talk to you about Free Comic Book Day. It's happening on May 7th, which is Saturday, and it's happening in the comic shops in town and also here at Bay County Public Library. You're going to come to the Youth Services room, and we're going to have comics in these brown paper bags, okay? And each one's going to be labeled. This is what the children's label is going to look like. And there will be 3 assorted comics inside each bag. It will be stapled shut. So we're asking that people not open up the bags and then try to return them. The whole idea is to try something new, different. So let me show you what we have. We have Pokemon. This is Pokemon Journeys. There are 2 different stories in here. Also Pokemon Adventures, X and Y. And these are the manga, but they happen to be in the larger comic book format. But there are 2 different stories in here. For those of you who love Pokemon, like my grandsons, you're going to have fun with this. We also have the classic Donald Duck and Uncle Scrooge. And so here are some classic old adventures that you can enjoy. If you love Donald Duck the way I did growing up, you're going to have fun with this one. Now this one is Jonna and the Unpossible Monsters. There was a Jonna comic book in Free Comic Book Day last year. These are the continuing adventures of Jonna. And so this is part of the new book that is coming out. And if you happen to like sports and funny animals, we have the Fuzzy Baseball. And this is a baseball story, but all the teams are different animals, as you can see from the cover. And it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of humor in here, as well as good sports action as well. And this is Fuzzy Baseball Greatest Hits. And then another old favorite, Sonic the Hedgehog. So again, we have a nice story in here of Sonic and some of his adventures. And these are ongoing comics also that you can find in the comic stores. We have another Avatar, The Last Airbender, and Legend of Korra. There are 2 short stories in here, one of each, in nice full color for those who like Avatar or Legend of Korra. If you don't, if you have it in your bag, try it out. Now here's a brand new one. This is the Rima Chronicles. It's written by Amy Kim Kibuishi. If you've ever read Kazu Kibuishi's stories, this is his wife and is her first fantasy adventure graphic novel. And this has the beginning part of the story so that you can get a little taste of what it's going to be like, and then hopefully look for it in our library. Another fun one is Max Meow. This one is Cat on the Street Comic Spectacular, and this is by John Gallagher. Max Meow is kind of a superhero. What is really cool is that his science sidekick, the one who designs all of his gadgets and stuff, is a girl. So have fun with Max Meow and Mindy, Heroes with Catitude. I love that. And of course we have Dav Pilkey. This is a Dav Pilkey sampler. We have Captain Underpants, Dogman, and Cat Kid Comic Club. Short little parts, short little stories from each of those different characters. Some are like chapter books, and then some are in comic form, just like Dav Pilkey has been doing. So if you love these, you're going to have fun. Svetlana Chmakova has a new one coming out, Enemies. We had Brave and others, and this is a new story set in the same middle school about these 2 who are frenemies. They used to be really good friends, and now they're having to figure out a way to deal with each other in school again. These are the children's selections for Free Comic Book Day. Okay, now we have our teen comics for Free Comic Book Day, and they're going to be in the bags with the blue printed label. So we have an assortment. We've got 3 different titles from Marvel. So we have Judgment Day, and this one features the Avengers, the X-Men, and the Eternals. So there are 3 short snippets from the different adventures in here so that you will be able to get a taste of what that's going to be like and look for Judgment Day when it comes out in the comics. And of course we have to have fan favorite Spider-Man. This is Spider-Man and Venom. More action. Plus there's a small thing for All Out Avengers at the back of it. But of course a lot of ads too, but you'll see a little bit of story in here just to give you a taste of what the comics are going to be like. And then we have Marvel Voices. Marvel Voices is like an anthology of stories featuring different Marvel superheroes. We have in here Native American, we have Asian American, Pacific Islander characters, and others. So you'll have little bits of stories in here from different characters that you might have tried out before. One of my favorites in here is a story featuring a Filipino superhero. And she meets up with Bishop, and they have an adventure, and then she brings him home to eat sinigang with her father. That's one of my favorite Filipino dishes, so that's why I like this story a lot. Now there is one last 2-page story in here for the Marvel Pride comic anthology that is coming out. But this is just a really neat idea that Marvel had of featuring some of their more diverse voices in the comics and among their superheroes. And then we have Doctor Who. Now this one features, if you followed the 13th Doctor at all on BBC, you might have seen this Doctor. She is the fugitive Doctor. And Titan Comics is going to have adventures featuring her. So that's why she's on the cover of this one. I love her so much. She's a great character. And just to learn a little bit more about her origins and what she's like, I think it's going to be lots and lots of fun. It's a great science fiction adventure. If you've never tried Doctor Who before, this is a neat way to start. Then we have the best Archie comic ever. That's what they're calling it. And it features a lot of different versions of Archie. And so if you've been watching Riverside at all, that is like the more mature Archie. But you also see his other characters. You've got Jughead in here, Betty and Veronica, and a lot of other characters. And so if you like Archie at all, this is a lot of fun, but it has a lot of different ways that Archie's been portrayed. And then, of course, Stranger Things, which is a fabulous television series. And also Resident Alien. So there are 2 stories in here. You've got a little bit from the newest Stranger Things series from Dark Horse. And then there is a story in here featuring Resident Alien, which has been on Sci-Fi. So you get 2 different science fiction stories in one comic. Now, Neverlanders is a brand new story that's coming out. Remember Peter Pan and Neverland? Yeah, so we have a new group of young kids who are going to end up in Neverland, and they're homeless. It starts out with the way they live in an old park and how they all of a sudden find themselves in Neverland. So this is just a start, and I'm hoping that we will find that, get that book out and try to get that into the library so we can read the rest of the story. But this is a neat introduction to that story. We also have Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You know, it's been 25 years of Buffy. Oh my goodness. in movies and TV and comics. And so this does feature a number of the different Buffy series characters, also the various Slayers, and a little bit of the story in here for those who like Buffy the Vampire Slayer for her 25th anniversary. Malaka Gharib does some wonderful nonfiction biographical stories in graphic novel format, and Her newest one that's going to be coming out is called It Won't Always Be Like This. And this one features the time that she went to Egypt on a vacation with her father, only he had gotten remarried because her parents were divorced. And she's trying to find a way to connect to her stepmother, who doesn't speak English, and she doesn't really speak Egyptian. So it's a struggle and a real total adjustment in her life. And this is a snippet of a book that is coming out later on this year. Now this, I think, is one of my favorites. This is from Tokyo Pop, and it's called The Guardian of Fukushima. Back in 2011, there was a horrible earthquake that also wrecked the atomic power plant that they had, and it caused so many problems. There was a tsunami that came in and wiped out a lot, and that damaged the power plant, which caused nuclear waste leaking and all kinds of problems. Well, Stuart Levy, the publisher of Tokyo Pop, was in Japan at the time that it happened, and he went to Fukushima to try to help, along with a whole lot of others. And this inspired him to get some people to write this story. This is a fantasy version. You're not going to see much of the fantasy in here yet, but you're seeing the setup in this. This is the very beginning of the story, set on a farm in Fukushima, because it was basically farmland. And so it's just a family, a boy with his aunt and uncle and grandparents, and what happens when the earthquake hits. That's the rumbles of the ground. And then seeing the tidal waters come sweeping in. Like I said, this is going to be a manga that is coming out early next year. So this is a way to get a little bit more information about it, and I'm really looking forward to this one. And last but not least, for the teens, we have Clementine. This is part of The Walking Dead, and this one focuses on a teenage girl named Clementine, and of course zombies, and the people who are trying to survive. So you've got some violent action in this one, but not too much. But it's focusing on the fact that she has some problems. There's also a new Machine Boy. This is another new comic that's coming out. And so we have a little section of that in here. So you'll be able to sample and try out something new that will be coming out soon from Image Comics. So these are the teen books for Free Comic Book Day. Okay, and now we have the adult titles that we have for Free Comic Book Day. I did not order all of the adult titles that were available, because some of them were, let's say, kind of bloody. And I thought, well, you know what? You can find those at the comic shops. So go to Comic Emporium, go to Arena Comics on Saturday, and pick those up if you're grown-ups, okay, and try those out. But I did choose some that we're going to be giving out here at the library, and they're going to be in the black and white labeled bag, okay. This is Bone Orchard Mythos. It's a prelude, so it's a beginning leading into a new series. Jeff Lemire is a great comic book writer. He does great horror and science fiction. This is part of his Bone Orchard series. Very atmospheric, very like, oh my gosh, what is happening in here? Kind of horror. We do have some of his books in our adult graphic novel section. So this might be something good you would like to try out. We have a couple of different manga. This is from Viz, and it has a couple of stories in here, Kaiju number 8, and also Sakamoto Days. Now, Kaiju number 8 does involve, like monsters kind of thing. And so it's got a bit of science fiction action and a little bit of horror in it. Now, Sakamoto Days, that is about a man who was one of Japan's greatest assassins, who gave it all up, got married, had a kid, and now he runs a store. But this little snippet in here is about what happens when he and a bunch of housewives and grandmas are trying to get their hands on a very limited edition backpack for his daughter, and what lengths he will go to get that backpack for his daughter. Again, it's more adult in action, but it's a slapstick, silly humor in it. So this is a neat way of trying out two new manga that are coming out. Kodansha has two. It's a flip book. So you've got a snippet from a new series called Blackguard. This snippet is in color, so I'm not sure how much. Sometimes the manga has a little bit of color, and then the rest are going to be in black and white. You see, he looks kind of like a reaper there. Yeah, so we've got that kind of slightly horror type action going on. And then we have One Dance, and this is set in a school. And so it's set in classrooms, so you see some of the different new characters that are coming out and getting into dance, modern dance. So the guy who looks like he might be maybe like a gangster type, he wants to dance. So Blackguard and One Dance. Those are two new series coming out from Kodansha. This is from Overstreet, Guide to Collecting Comics. They put out a neat issue every year for Free Comic Book Day. And what's really fun is they use comic book stories to tell a little bit about the history of comics and collecting comics, but it's just done in a neat, humorous way, featuring their own hero, like Superman or Captain America or other superheroes, as they talk about the do's and don'ts of taking care of your comics. And you know, some of the old superhero comics, the things that came out when my dad was a kid and he used to buy those, they're going for over $1 million now. And so it talks a little bit about that too. But you don't have to spend that much to buy comics, you know, just to read for fun. That's the whole point to me, is reading for fun. Forget about the $1 million comics. Go for what is fun and interesting to you. I've got Trece. This last year was my favorite Free Comic Book Day comic. This is horror and mystery set in the Philippines. So you see that kind of action in here again. So this is another snippet of a story, part of a story from the new volume of Trece that's coming out. And we do have the first 3 trade volumes of the Trece graphic novel series in adult graphic novels in our library. So you can check it out if you like horror, if you like mystery, and you want to see some different kinds of horror characters that come from Asia. This is a great series to try. This is the Winchester Mystery House. I never went in it. We drove past it one time when our family was traveling, and my dad was driving in, so he didn't want to stop in this place. But Sarah Winchester was the heiress to the Winchester, you know, the Winchester rifles. And she was deathly afraid of all the spirits of the dead people coming to get her. So she built this house. She kept having it built. They never finished it. You have stairs that lead into a wall. You have windows that open up onto a brick. All kinds of weird stuff. And this is a horror mystery set in the Winchester house itself, as we have a young couple touring, but starting to get some psychic vibes from inside the house. And this is a new ongoing series from a new comic book publisher. And so if you want to try out, if you get this in your bag, you know, try out something a little different. And the place is real. The place is real. I can't vouch for the veracity of the stories in the comics, but the place itself is a really interesting, crazy, fascinating place. So that's what we have for the adult comics. Just a reminder again, we are doing blind bags. There will be 3 assorted comics in each of our bags for each of the age levels, children, teen, and adult. They will be in boxes in our youth services department on Saturday. Starts when we open at 9, and it's while supplies last here. But just remember, whatever you pick, once you open your bag, you cannot return it. But please try out the comic shops in town in order to find even more. So if you've seen something here in our video that you didn't get in your bag and you would like, head out to the comic shop. They'll have it for you.